needing to sound like this person. You know, you take the artist as they are, and you help them cultivate a sound that fits them to their liking and to mine. I was the only audience they had to impress, which allowed me to create a feeling, the creative energy and the feeling that I felt like, okay, this project is ready to go. Because it's very different from when I started to where music is now. And that's, you know, that's how I create. That's how I handle things business-wise. And yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So that's a really, I think you've given us a really important snapshot of how to reduce something to the moment and how to feel what it's going, feel it in the moment, because then it translates to that moment for many other people as well. I know that's probably a more simplified version of the actual interaction you're having with the person and how you're working together, but fail fast is a really good way to approach something, because it's not that you're giving up, but you're just trying to find the right way to proceed.
Exactly. And it's a learning process. You know, it's you have to get to it fast enough to be able to recover quick enough. You know, the procrastination it leads to sort of that you know, you're having a conversation and you can have sort of this weird empty silent moment, but within that moment there's so many thoughts that are happening that because no one's speaking at that moment, you can perceive something negatively based on that silence. You know, so my thing is get out of that quickly and pivot. You know, just so there is no there's not you don't allow the audience or the person you're in the room with to sort of try to read, you know, the room. You have to be able to dictate the mood and change, you know, the color of the room. You know, someone, you know, people quickly get into their own heads, but they're looking at you for the answers. If you don't have it, then, you know, something's wrong. You know, but again, also there are no right or wrong answers. But you can dictate and give the wrong answer with such confidence that they believe you.
That's so true. That's so true. I think to myself, so music is such a, I mean, you go anywhere and you go anywhere and someone's playing something. You can hear audio of something. You get in an elevator, you're at a mall, you're at a restaurant, you're walking through an airport, you hear something, be it an advertisement that has a jingle or a constant radio stream. So how do you separate what you do for a job to what you do in your personal life? Like, in terms of interest, is it that you find other vehicles around music, or do you like to enjoy it personally and work with it professionally?
It's both. You don't separate the two, but the problem with the creator, and because you have to create, but you're also critiquing at the same time. So just like an author or a filmmaker, you can't watch the movie the same. You're critiquing. You're seeing what went wrong, what you would have done. You know, so with music, I'm the same type of listener. You know, I'll enjoy it, but I actually only enjoy it after I won't say after I critique, because there's some songs that just naturally hit you. But I think because I don't listen to lyrics, I'm a melody guy. Because I'm creating for a global audience, people that don't understand English. So it's the melody. So when I'm listening, if the melody catches me, or there's a part of the music that touches an emotion, then I'm in. if I have to wait to get to that point, because sometimes music, sometimes it takes a second to build.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that kind of music, but I have to tap in earlier in order to keep, because you have 30 seconds before someone changes, even less actually, because you got to think about social media. You're used to just scrolling until something catches your eye, which means you have 3 seconds. With music, I would say 15 seconds if you have a good enough opener. So I don't listen. When I do listen to music, I listen to music I already love. What I say is missing for me is discovery. Because it's too much out there.
Yeah.
I would be like, unless someone brings something to my attention, I'm probably less. And also too, I'm not in that space. I'm not trying to create or find the new whoever. If people want to tap in and find me, then they have to take those roads or that avenue to actually find someone in my sphere that will vouch for what the product they're about to bring me. Other than that, I'm not in that space. I'm not in the discovery space anymore. If something happens to catch my eye, or I get turned on to something, that's
that's serendipity.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily like, I'm not. I don't do any random listening. I'll read a random book, but based off of sort of a recommendation, or I'll look at the review first.
Yeah.
And with music too, I'll probably look at some reviews, or if it's that good, it's piercing and everyone is talking about it, then I'll check it out. But again, then I'm late to the party, because I used to pride myself on finding something first.
Well, yeah, I mean, breaking that artist was probably a huge, and it was probably a huge driver. But then I think about it. So, in this context, how did OSIS get in front of you then? I think that's probably a good way to frame the question. How did it get in front of you, the project?
Very much on, like I said, I'm not in the discovery mode unless someone that I know and trust brings something to my attention, which was the case with Daryl Pearson, DP.
Yeah.
He put OSIS in front of me. And I'm sorry, you about to?
No. Yeah, please carry on.
Yeah, so he put the guys in front of me, and he just had one simple pitch. Give him 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And that was it. And I was actually traveling back to LA from Vegas. And just so happens, I was driving. So I literally had hours.
Yeah.
But I was actually I was listening to an audiobook, during the time. And then what's happening, I was like, yeah, sure, let's get on. And once I start speaking to the guys, again, just my threshold is low. So it has to be immediate in order to keep my interest. Or I will send Daryl a secret text and say, we need to end this call quickly.
Yeah.
That didn't happen with the guys. I was immediately sucked in because they started with a story.
Yep.
And that's the great thing about anyone. If you even read the 48 Laws of Power, in order for you to because Robert Greene, he can write and give you how to feel, how to conduct yourself. But when he started giving you those stories of how the practice was implemented, that's when it sunk in. And so the guys started with a very simple story, easy enough to digest, and it gave me insight as to who they are, which was then intriguing. And after a couple of stories, I was already in. So instead of them giving me like additional info, I'm asking the question.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You know, so what about this? And what about that? And then automatically my wheels are turning because of where I come from and where they come from. I see the synergies, and I understood what I can do for OSIS.
Mm-hmm.
And that led to me being chief strategic officer.
Yeah.
Because I understood what they were doing, and I understood how to bring it to my world, and 100x it, not 10x, not 20x, 100x.
Mm-hmm.
Because these guys are so brilliant.
Correct.
Their brilliance gave me the opportunity to widen the scope for them. Yeah. Because they're from a different world. You know, I don't understand their world 100%. They don't understand my world 100%. But we both understood opportunity.
I guess then in that sense, how do you, okay, so the tokenizer, the launch pad, obviously it's not so much a question about understanding the technology behind it versus how do you see that crossover, the 100x that you envision? How do you see that in the industry? Like your career spans a couple of decades. How do you see it revolutionizing or adding to that space?
Because the companies that I've worked for, the companies I deal with, everyone's looking to how do we develop and create passive income? Every company has issues in regards to creating that, you know, in a really feasible way. So they answer the question because a lot of these companies, they have tremendous overhead, and you hear companies all the time cutting costs, you know, but if they wouldn't need to cut costs, and they can actually help different departments if they had a way to finance it. Because they created that department for a reason. It may have needed more time, or the spend was more than they anticipated. But if you have a passive income that can feed that department, your vision will then come to fruition. Just like with record labels. If I won't say Beyonce, but I will use Beyonce because everyone knows. Beyonce, Destiny's Child, we're not profitable in the beginning. But because Sony Music has catalog, they can keep the lights on. Yeah. They can hire staff. It's that catalog that pays for the future.
True.
So you create all these things. Like you know that this vehicle, this new product will bear fruit. But without that catalog, without that successful catalog, you know, Michael Jackson was part of the Sony Music Group. Without Michael Jackson, there would be no Destiny's Child. You needed his catalog to flourish in order to invest in the future. Yeah. You know, so this is the same. This is the opportunity OSIS is going to create for a lot of these companies. The passive income is needed. Yeah. You know, with artists today, you know, you put so much money in the artist, you know, but if you are able to offset costs, you allow that artist to flourish. Artist development is something of the past. So it may take longer for them to figure it out. Well, not may, it will. You know, but then you have to have something to say, all right, this is feeding, you know, everything else. I'm not necessarily taking the same risk because I'm making multi-millions over here, which allows me to not just sign 4 or 5 artists, you know, a quarter. I can double that now. So this is the opportunities they create, not just in music, but with brands.
I feel like it's the kind of era where savvy artists can take control of their sound. They've got enough access to equipment that probably 10 years ago they couldn't have access to. But in this space with OSIS, there's also an opportunity that artists have tokenized themselves first, and they almost arrive at your plate as a whole package. And it's how does that cross over into enterprise? How does that work for everyone? If an artist already arrives at you, they've tokenized themselves, and it's just a matter of getting the vehicles on the same road, if that makes sense. Is that something that's still got potential in the industry if people are wanting to work with big labels that can assist them get to the audiences? Is that a relevant question? I'm not too sure in terms of the bigger picture, but I feel like you might be able to sense out what I'm trying to ask, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So from the artist perspective, as far as like OSIS, tokenizing, and the artist, it only worked for a few, only the biggest, right? This is not something that a new talent or mid-tier talent can take advantage of, which is why our strategy is going to the bigger brands, because they understand, they understand and have built their audience. So they have decades of experience, you know, because we're relying on, we're just giving them a platform, right?
Yeah.
It's their job. We express the potential, we give them the platform, and give them our ideas on how they can monetize, but then it's on them to take action.
Yeah.
So we present so just like how Spotify, Apple gave the industry another way to get to their audience, is the same way OSIS is presenting labels, music studio, movie studios, household brands, an opportunity to deliver to their audience something of value that will help monetize and then bring passive income. But artists are not necessarily there yet. Only the biggest, because it's not necessarily the understanding of their audience, but the understanding of their power. You know, because we all like we bought into Bitcoin, we bought into Ethereum. Yeah. You know, but why? You know.
Yeah.
So it's just, you have to be able to give them the why.
And then if we think about how we brought into it, in a way, music industry, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and please do. The music industry for a long time there would have been quite centralized, in the sense that there was a certain amount of control over, potentially, I could be wrong, certain amount of control, and it might have taken an artist a lot longer to break through, to get to someone, to talk to the right person. Whereas the whole concept of decentralized, how is the decentralized culture of blockchain going to become part of the strategy that's friendly in terms of music companies? Sorry, that's not the right word, but like Sony and the big labels. How is that decentralized culture? How are you going to be able to take this strategy and make it something that is still within the culture of decentralization? Does that make sense? Like, we're all here because we want to have our own. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. So what has happened is, because of social media, it decentralized the control the labels had on your pathway to an audience. People were able to create their own audience and create their own pathway to monetize their talent. It's the music industry is decentralized. I don't need Sony to distribute music anymore. I can get to a global audience in 15 minutes. Well, at least I could set it up in 15 minutes, and then it takes 3 to 5 days to put it in front of give access to everybody. Putting it in front of people is way different than providing access, and that's on the artist. So if I create music that I love, I can have it on Spotify. I can create it and get it set up in Spotify, all the DSPs. I can get it up there in 15, 20 minutes. Then their process is processing the music, the artwork, all the information, the metadata. Their process is 3 to 5 days and beyond to get it within the certain marketplace. But right now, if you have Spotify, Apple, Tidal, and then everyone has access to YouTube. YouTube is instant. You decentralize the marketplace. Now you don't have the same gatekeepers. That's what the centralized market is. It's not having the gatekeepers. I can go there and I can create.
Yeah.
I can upload and get people there without having to go through any regulatory issues. It's free for all.
Yeah. So, well then, if with this huge, well, I guess, whilst it sounds simple enough in conversation, it's obviously a huge. It's a juggernaut, and I guess you're in a position to be part of how the switch has been flipped. But then, if you think about tokenization in general, like you can see it through this lens of the music industry. How do you then take a step back and think, all right, then I see the point of this in a bigger picture outside of music? How do you see that same potential across a whole series of industries? How do you see tokenization across a whole series of industries? It's probably the most specific question I could ask.
Well, the opportunity to tokenize, OSIS is making it an easier process. And again, it's easy to articulate to a brand, a company, because they've already built, I'll call it a fan base, but they built an audience. They built consumers. That's the issue with any brand, any artist. An artist is a brand. You need consumers. You have artists with 145 million followers, but how many of those followers are consumers? That's why it's an easier conversation with the brand, because once we explain what tokenization and the impact it can have for them, they don't have to figure out their audience. They're a 50-year company that has a huge understanding of what their audience likes. And how and everybody we approach as a team, OSIS, we have an approach before we approach a brand. We figure ways that they can monetize prior to going to the brand. So we're giving them the blueprint, and we have a bunch of ideas for a brand, because once we get on a call, it's a wrap. If we target in on any one brand, the ideas are endless. So we pull the best 5, or even not even 5, because 5 is a lot for people to digest. I only need 2. I go to a brand and I pick the best 2, and I tell them, this is what this is. I'll explain that to you. This is how you get to the marketplace. This is how you monetize.
Yeah.
And at that point, OSIS flips the switch. They turn it on. Passive income. All companies will understand that.
They'll hear that as the
for sure, because they all are in desperate need of it.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like there's a lot of companies out there that already feel like they're 10 to 5 years behind that next progression in how business is going to sustain itself. Well, maybe 5 to 10. That's too much of an exaggeration, but there may be industries out there that already feel like they're behind on what this next change is, like, if that makes sense. And I feel like, so, something quite interesting. I don't know, but I was quite surprised, and I would still not be surprised in the future if I heard that the Brooklyn Nets had been tokenized, because it's my understanding that I thought for one point in time there, Jay-Z had a type of academy in one of the suburbs that was bringing Web3 tokenization education to some lower disadvantaged young people. So I feel like there's a real thirst for all industries across the board to get on whatever this buzz is that they sense is coming, or they may be behind. And I wonder, what would be the most out of the box industry you would want to approach with this product suite?
There is no out of the box industry. Any industry that is making money by selling a product is our target. There is no out of the box. We have a list of who we are approaching first, but that's strategical. Yeah. We do it because once we start on this road, everyone's going to want to do it, and OSIS is going to be one of the only places you can do it.
Yeah.
We just have to. It's just show, and we're going at the biggest one. So once they're able to do it, everyone else is just, and not that everyone is sheep, but they know, okay, if he can do it, I can do it. Same reason why you have Spotify, you have Tidal, you have Pandora, why? Because it was like, all right, he was first to it, but doesn't mean I can't do it. Actually, you know what? I mean, and there's tons more that people just don't know. But there's the big four that you need to be on to get to the masses.
Yeah.
And OSIS won't be they're so far ahead. So we're so far ahead that for people to catch up, it's going to take a number of years. And we'll be miles ahead. We'll be the standard.
Yeah.
So that's what everyone has to look forward to. That OSIS is the standard.
Well, I guess that's the point of strategy then, isn't it? It's not so much, it's taking into consideration who those first 4 or 5 approaches are, because people see and think, okay, well, that's trustworthy. If that giant is down this pathway, then that's for us too. It's almost like trusting the person ahead of you versus following the dodo off the cliff, if that makes sense. That's the strategy. Totally. That's the difference between a strategy, isn't it?
Yeah, because then you automatically build trust. If this guy did it, okay, let's do it. People are seeing on the simplest level. People are seeing how water now, you have a lot of the premium brands. It's either glass or aluminum can, because they understand the delivery from plastic. People are educating themselves and talking about microplastics. Now you'll start seeing glass and cans, with the water brands that you've been buying you're like, oh, okay, well, he did it. Oh, now he's doing it. Oh, now it's just, it catches fire. It's the snowball effect.
Yeah. What do you think are the industries that will be the ones that we could set on? I think this is probably the better way to look at it. OSIS is the match. What are the industries do you think we should set on fire first?
Well, entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
is definitely one of them. I don't want to necessarily give away our strategy, but the biggest companies, I guess you can think of, we're approaching, and they will adopt because they won't have any choice. They have zero to lose and everything to gain. This is the part. That's what's so brilliant about these guys. They like you can't turn it down. It's a layup. They may our job is easy. We do this for you. It's a low entry point for these billion-dollar companies, but then you'll see the upside.
Yeah.
You know, so it's easy. You know, OSIS is making it very easy for these companies to generate, you know, millions passively.
I guess that's the thing. So tokenization, the culture and the space that tokenization comes from, we call ourselves that a decentralized sovereign organization, which is who we are as a movement of people. But at the end of the day, for the success of everyone that's involved and the project to maintain its position and be standing for a very, very, very long time, it really is about the crossover between old industry, money, and moving in the new direction for everyone's good, the benefit of the greater good.
Yes.
How do you think it's going to maintain the ethical nature that people are desiring for themselves? Do you know what I mean? Like, a lot of us see tokenization as a way to take back our own control. How do you think we're going to be able to maintain, as a strategy, how do you feel like those two ideas go to drive down the same path to the destination, if that makes sense? So I'm a big one for analogies when I'm trying to, obviously you're incredibly journey traveled, successful, so I use a lot of analogies to try and make sure I can get my thoughts towards you, if that makes sense. So how do we keep that the nature of the culture of the community protected or maintained and safely boxed up next to this next to the reality of the world, which is business, money, and industry being an integral part of our lives anyway, because it has to be, because we're also plugged into the same spaces. I don't know if that question makes sense, which it might not.
Well, just from an ethical standpoint, I believe that. So just talking about personal, you know, everyone has a brand that they want to create. I would say that anyone that's drawn to OSIS is because there's something that they have that they want to develop. But getting to it, OSIS makes it easy. Maintaining it is on the individual, the brand. They give you the pathway, but you know, and they can completely, you know, this is actually is a service that's created, you know, to help you get, you know, from tokenization to being compliant.
Yeah.
So there's a pathway. Now there are other securities in place that's on the brand, you know, to keep everything on the up and up and to stay ethical. I mean, if you want to survive in this space and continue to flourish, you know, there are entities out there that will help you, But if you choose, a pathway of not, then, you will quickly see your demise.
Mm. Mm.
And this is such a fast moving industry that you get it. You can get in and make millions, and you can stay there and continue and do great things and have a utility and help people, or you can go and create a meme and have success possibly, or you can crash and burn.
Yeah, pump and dump kind of stuff, eh? Well, that's the thing. Like, I think that's the other thing too, and we talk about it in the sense that there's that smoke screen that's in front of OSIS at the moment is the craze around meme coins, but in reality, under a regulatory framework, they're all going to fall over. And by the time they all fall over, I would imagine that the strategies that are in place now and are on the move already will have made OSIS, by the time everything falls over, OSIS will already be in and working, and people will already have adopted the tokenizer, and they will have already have adopted and be becoming familiar with the utility of the project versus whatever was happening before, like the meme coins craze, for example, which is just, well, arguably, I haven't understood where the utility is in a meme coin, but immediately, without any prior knowledge as a layperson, like you could assume my career as a social worker. So as a layperson, I understood right away from my point of view, it's the potential to drive a major paradigm shift in terms of financial equality. But then the entry point around that is that the utility of the project, anyone, anywhere could have an idea, and with an internet connection could then bring their business idea to life. So they could monetize their concept and be up and running within the 3 minutes it takes to use the launch pad.
I mean, it's gonna be incredible because Chris has already developed something that will not only give everyone the ability to grasp the what and why of blockchain, but they'll be engaged. They'll be equipped enough to engage confidently and even lead in the space based upon what he created. Like he's taken people step by step through each phase, so there'll be no confusion as to because I know people are hearing this conversation and having no idea. All right, well, how do I even get started? Where can I take this? And so he's giving everyone an education that they'll be able to have, something tangible, which will be available soon, but something tangible where they can say, all right, cool. I understand where I need to go. I just don't know what car to get into.
Yeah, correct.
So he's giving you OSIS is the car. That's your vehicle. He's going to take, and we're going to take you step by step through that process.
That's
create millionaires.
And that's I think the title was, is it because he dropped into the Discord when he was trying to catch a flight home from Dubai, and they were waiting for, I think it was one of the airlines to get there to board the plane. Is it the blockchains for blockheads? Is that the title? That's the title. So I think
So the title is Blockchain for Idiots: How Blockheads Are Making Millions.
That's it. Yeah. Perfect. So that's actually what that is. It's a step by step. Of course, that makes sense.
Yeah. It's easily digestible. And what I respect is that they didn't hide behind a meme. They put themselves out front. They engage with the community. They celebrate their wins.
Yeah.
They educate their audience on their losses. But my motto, they pivot fast.
Yeah.
A decision is made, we're already on the phone. They're like, okay, cool, we need to do this now.
Yeah.
Let's go here. Let's do this. Okay, let's go in the community. We let them know why this happened, and we're going to pivot, and then we'll all celebrate together as a community. Like, I just love how engaged they are. We are all collectively and separately on at least 15 to 20 different groups chatting because there's so much happening. You know, so, and then within those groups, they're like 15 to 20 people, you know, 11 people, 4 people, but everything, but they seem to handle it. They seem to handle it with ease. And, you know, I may wake up to 97, you know, texts, and I'm like, okay, what's happening now? You know, but no.
Where's the fire? Where's the fire?
Yeah, but no matter the time zone is what impressed me, because Chris was traveling.
Yeah.
You know, but no matter the time zone, you know, but Chris and Jalal are just like on it, you know, and then I'm chiming in, and you know, so I just love it, and the people are going to be surprised, you know, even before we get to the third quarter of this year.
Yeah.
Just buckle up.
Yeah.
Buckle up and get in now.
Yeah.
The ride is going to be incredible.
Yeah, and you know, I was actually thinking that yesterday. I thought to myself, because Jalal was in and about Discord. Generally, when I'm in and about Discord, which is the other end of the world, so generally his time zone is not plugged in. They're snoozing, kind of. They're getting, you know, they're sleeping. But I just thought to myself, this is months and months of engagement, of critical thinking that never seems to be exhausted. It seems to continue in a clear way. But at the same time, so this is 2 different things that was happening. So there was the list happening on the one hand, but then on the other hand, there's this separate march collecting yourself, for example, in the sense that without that engagement in a different sphere, there wasn't the generating the next people that were coming on board to push it even further. And that was something I was actually thinking about, the capacity to be so clear and coherent for such a long period of time is something that's quite remarkable, I think. And it definitely is a testament to the guys and their passion for the project. But then they must have the clearest concept of where they're going as well. Because I think if you don't hold the project in such a clear way and have a good understanding about it, you probably couldn't be that plugged in all the time, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. Definitely, they're absolutely plugged in. But I also see they're learning. You know, never be afraid to learn, because anyone that says they know everything about everything knows nothing. Yeah. You know, so I see, you know, and the guys, you know, learning from mistakes, again, failing fast, and learning from, you know, the people who've helped create, you know, some of the biggest in the industry or in the space, and I really respect the way they are, but also keeping a level of composure that is not the same from the industries I come from. You know, but it's just a testament to their character, period, you know?
Yeah.
So they are yin and yang, but they work so well together. Like as a team, I feel like we're great. We're only going to get better. Things are growing, like just to even have a clue of what's happening in the background. You know, people will be astonished. OSIS is a big deal, and people will soon see how big of a deal OSIS is.
Yeah, so I dropped in the other day, and I had to ask Jalal about something, and I said, congratulations, and he was like, about what? And I was like, oh, you know, and he goes, oh, sorry, I'm 3 steps ahead, and I was like, what explosions does he know is coming if these ones are already like on the shelf? I was like, oh my God.
Exactly, you know, and they are, you know, 3 to 5 steps ahead. of everything, but they have to be. Because there's so many things, and again, it's also you have to have mechanisms in place, because one is, one can fail. Mm-hmm. So if you don't have something to step in to that space and to give the support that was lost, then it won't make it. So they have a great structure. They have a great team. They're people persons. I'm see the different conversations with the different teams that are helping to make OSIS successful, and everybody loves the guys. But I understand why, because I love the guys, and that was why I wanted to be a part of it. I see something bigger than myself happening, that will help so many people. So many people realize their dreams. This is the future. OSIS is the future. Point blank.
It certainly feels like that in the community as well, and it has just from day dot. And I'm loath to cut you off, but I know that we've got about 10 minutes before we hit the hour, and I generally just make a comment. If anyone's got any questions, please just throw them up. Like, this is definitely a good space to be asking questions. But just as we come to the top of it, I thought to myself, like, if you had a piece of advice or a lesson you've learned in this just short amount of time that you've been in the project with the guys, and it stuck with you, how would you deliver that message to people listening? What's a lesson or advice that you've learned?
I'll give you something in its simplest form. I had an opportunity. I'm sure most of us had an opportunity to get into Bitcoin very early. Didn't believe in it. Why? Because I wasn't educated on it. I didn't see getting in to buy something so cheap was going to make me rich. We all heard the story of the guy that bought pizza for 15 Bitcoin. And everybody knows where he would be today.
Yeah, well, yeah, true.
My advice, don't be that guy. Get in now. That's the best thing I can say, because I wish someone told me, like, back at that time, I had $1,000 to, like, I was like, well, I could lose $1,000. I'm not going to even care about it, for those that may be lower, but still, get in now you can and hold, because I swear my life would be absolutely different. I may have not been blessed enough. I'll be richer with dealing with OSIS, but I wouldn't have minded, be super rich off of Bitcoin right now either. So my thing is, don't be that guy.
So, okay, like, one of the last questions that we fall on, and it's kind of, I guess we've probably already been there in a different ways during the conversation, but if you could think back to where you started, like childhood, teenager, the years after that, why does this project matter to you? If you can think back to Len then, why does this project matter to you now?
Great question.
Because it matters in the simple sense. So I won't give away I won't give away my age, but it matters because we have a lack of financial literacy in the space, and how to create wealth in this new way. I wish that the blockchain guys, the Bitcoin guys, whoever they are, like I said, it's admirable that these guys are not hiding behind a coin. But to create it, I wish that they took the time to educate and be accessible, because the lack of accessibility and the questions that people have, OSIS is answering. I had a wish of, everyone has it, like, if they could rewind the clock, like, what are the 4 to 5 things that you wish you had knowledge of? Because your life now would be very different. Without rewinding the time, OSIS is creating that opportunity, which I love. So the book that they're about to get from OSIS, created by Chris, the way they engage with their community. It's everything that I wish I had. And for those that are paying attention, great. Share the information. Don't hold it. There's billions, trillions out there. Share the information. Because I wish I had a mentor or someone who was into that space that even if they didn't have vast knowledge, but understood enough and was fearless in the sense of like, well, I'm putting in this much. Because we all have mentors. We all have people we look to. We wish that they would share that information. So that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing information with influential people, powerful people, rich people who, and I tell them, you know, continue, pass it on. This is the beginning. Catch it now. I had a chance to get in at $15. I end up buying at $70. That's not the space I wanted to be in. I wanted to get it years ago, you know. So, you know, get the information, pass it on, let them know. You know, the guys are here, the guys have been here, the guys are not going anywhere. As a team, I feel like we have great leaders, and we all play our part, and we play it well, and we'll continue to do so.
That's definitely how it translates in the community as well. And that's, I think, from a community perspective, we've already got people in there talking about probably what feels like a far left idea, but it actually is going to work in some way, shape or form. And it's already starting to generate thoughts about projects. And we've got people, myself included, there's that whole spectrum of where people are in terms of translating it into where they come from to see how it's going to work from there. And there's still a whole lot of people and conversations around what can we tokenize, how can we do it. And I think in a way our whole community is education based as well, and it's really about talking to people, because I know that in my world, when I talk to people about they freak out. Like I was talking to my mum about it, and she's like, oh, be careful of that Bitcoin. And I was like, but mum, it's not actually Bitcoin, it's an entire ecosystem of products. And my mum comes from a banking background, so there's a lot of traditional conditioning that I find myself really patiently talking people through as well, because I think you've got to be prepared to encourage people to be open-minded about it as well. And I think there's a bit of latency around negativity in terms of adopting a lot of the concepts, because it's got such a fearmonger, because there's been so many scams in the area. People have lost a lot of money. There's a lot of people out there that are hacking wallets and stuff. So I think it is really positive to have the founders from the get-go being on the calls, literally working the microphone for us all, talking us through it as well. And it's so rewarding to see their hard work paid off as well with the expansion of the team. And it hasn't diluted the talent, it's just added more and more different and specific skills like your own to the leadership team. And I think these conversations this week have been so powerful in the sense that the depth in the team and the skill is probably once in a generation kind of coming together. And it's, you know, had you asked anyone in the community 12 months ago, would we have individuals like Daryl and yourself sitting next to Jalal and Chris, we might not have imagined it. We might have thought to ourselves, tradition it'll be someone like, I don't know, tech-wise, like the Steve Jobs of the Apple industries or XYZ, but it makes a lot of sense that what we've heard this week, you guys are in those spots, because it's a curiosity, isn't it? It's a curious individual that helps drive this project.
Yeah, and it's a testament. The guys think outside the box. The community, you know, the adopters of OSIS, That's what they need. They don't need the traditional. They need forward-thinking people, and Jalal and Chris are forward-thinking. And the team that they assemble and continue to assemble are all forward-thinking thinkers. So it's a happy place. Proud to be part of the team. We have massive goals, things that scare us. But that's the thing. We just dream big. And it's all coming. We see it coming to fruition. The stars are aligning.
It's so interesting. I wish we had a bit more time to pick your brains about these things, but we just don't really. We've only allocated the hour to it, and we usually have Jalal dropping in the end here to kind of close it out for us. But I just think to myself, if you had one opportunity to tokenize something, what would you tokenize?
Personally, like for myself?
Yes.
Well, I am tokenized. that was part of the pitch. It's just like, well, all right, well, show and prove. And, I was tokenized in seconds. But how I am going to structure that and truly monetize it, because I've always done it for people in this space. I'm still figuring it out exactly how to do it. So, my journey with these guys and the team is a daily education. So I want to be clear on how I do it, because the way they are structuring and handling and curating is aspirational. So if I can't be on their level, then whatever I need I can't bring it to fruition until I feel like I could add to the conversation in a positive way for the community, and this is not just for self. This is not just something for just for me to get rich. This is to bring wealth to all, which is the opportunity they're giving. So I need to make sure that I can be part of that conversation in a real way. So for those who have, my superpower is different than other people. So for those who are building their own brand in another way, my brand is different from another person. So my thing is, you have the opportunity now. You have an opportunity. So get educated by getting the book, and then take each step.
Yeah. And I think it adds to the credibility when someone's in that spot talking about how they cut their teeth in learning as well. And that's essentially what the process that we all take on board, isn't it? We have to learn how to use it for ourselves as well.
Yeah. Because once you learn the foundation, then the sky's the limit. And that's, he just eloquently put it in such a way. Like I said, it's the title says it all. Like it's so engaging when people see, like, it pops off the page. You're like, okay, wow. And then when you start reading through it, you're like, oh. And then it's like, oh, this is easy, because it is.
I hear Luigi. If Luigi's in the background, like, well, it wasn't that easy, but I hear what you're saying.
Well, you know why? Because you have the instructions in front of you. It's like if you get something from IKEA, it looks great. It's complicated to put it together, but you have step by step. So it's like, all right, I can get this stool. I can get this together because you have the blueprint now. It's like, okay, great. So that's what makes it easy. It's like before, like you had nothing. There was nothing out there. At least from my perspective, I haven't had anything out there. But especially too, what the guys are doing is different. It hasn't been out there. So thank God for the book.
And I guess the other side of the IKEA analogy too is I've got a pretty robust desk next door I've still got 6 or 7 bolts that I haven't put into it, but it's still solid. So it's going to work anyway. If you miss out a couple of steps, it's going to work anyway.
Exactly. You know,
Well,
and these guys are engaging enough to where, you know, if they foresee there's something that was, because this is just the first iteration of that, you know, there'll be other volumes, because these guys are growing. So yes, this is volume 1. Like, just like I said, spread the word, stay with the journey. There's plenty more to come, because they don't have any idea what's growing, what's happening, what's being cultivated in the background. So, you know.
Well, thank you. Jumping in just now. Thanks so much, Lenny. Thanks so much, Rachel. With that being said, I think that's a very good closing note. We got a little bit of hype on the upcoming ebook that Chris wrote, Blockchain for Idiots, How Blockheads Are Making Millions. That is the current tentative title. A lot of the archangels, the guys that are listening in that are archangels, existing OSIS investors, y'all are going to be the first to see it, as usual, and then the rest of the world. But that being said, guys, we've reached our time limit for today. That was a really, really cool interview. Lenny, really, really appreciate you giving us the time, giving everybody a chance to get to meet you. A lot of people are going to be listening back to this recording. They're going to have a ton of questions. I might throw them your way personally. But again, thank you so much for today. Rachel, you as well. Thanks so much. You killed it. It was a lovely interview. We do have another session coming tomorrow. I believe it's actually my turn. For those of you who don't know my voice, it is Jalal. And then we've got Chris upcoming on Monday. So stay tuned. We'll see you tomorrow at the exact same time. If there are any closing thoughts, Rachel or Lenny, please take the opportunity right now.
Thank you so much, Lenny. I think we've got so much more that you will be offering, and I'm really excited to see what those moves are and how you're going to contribute. And I really can't wait to see how you 100x that strategy as well. It's going to be such a cool journey.
Oh no, it's going to be a fantastic journey. I appreciate everyone's time. I appreciate everyone listening in. And yeah, it's important. It's very important when you get into this space to, like I said, if you're going to fail fast. This is not one of those scenarios. This is one of those, I wish I would have, moments. Like, I should have just took the opportunity, because it's a massive one. So again, thank you. Good luck to everyone out there. And yeah, we'll be seeing you. There'll be a part 2, 3, and 4. OSIS is here to stay, and we will continue to engage the community in this way. And yeah, we're all excited. So thank you, everyone.
Perfect.
Have a wonderful Saturday, everybody. Take care.
Okay.